This video is designed to help you with finding or calculating the slope of a line given a couple of points. So the definition of a slope of a line is, slope is defined as change in y over change in x. Notice I've used the delta, the classic delta symbol or triangle, change in y over change in x. What that means is, as you move from one point to the other, you are changing y by a certain amount and you are changing x by a certain amount. So let's look at this line here. I've identified 2 points where the line, and labeled them for you, where the lines go through the points right here. This is point A, and we're going to name that as -5. So again, if we think about our location, we're starting at 0, 0, go to -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and then down 1, 2, 3, 4. What this means is that this point is at the point -5, comma, what did I say, 1, 2, 3, -4. So it's at the point -5, -4. Now point B, which is this point up here, obviously, is going to be starting at 0, 0, and is going to be at 1, 2, 3, and then, so it's 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 3, comma, 3. Now I've just identified points that the line goes directly through. Of course, we could use any points with any values, but we'll start with the points that I've just named. So this is 3, comma, 3. Now, what this means when we talk about the slope is change in y. When we go from point A to point B, we're going over a certain amount in x. So we're going from point A to point B, and we're going this distance, which, if we count carefully, we're going to see is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that means that what we've gone is +8 from A over to B. We've gone +8 in the x direction. And you can also do this by saying we're at 3 in the x value for B and -5 in the x value for A. So 3 minus -5, so you can also think of it as 3 minus -5 is 8. So this is the change in x. Now, let's think about the change in y. We start at A right here, and we go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the change in y is 7 in this case. And we're going in the positive direction. And once again, you can think of it as starting at 3 for the y coordinate of B and subtracting -4, which of course is 7. 3 plus 4 is 7. So the change in y over the change in x in this picture is going to be change in y over change in x is going to be 7 over 8. Now what that means is this slope is 7/8. That means for every change of 1 in x, we're going to go 7/8 of that in y, and then 1 over, and then 7/8, and 1 over, and then 7/8. And of course, if you do this 8 times, you will have gone over 8 in x and 7 in y. So each of these slopes has a tilt of 7/8. Or this slope, this line has a slope of 7/8, which says it's a tilt. And I like to think of this as the change in x, again plus 8, over the change in y. And so if you make a slope triangle, and you think of it this way as a triangular slope, you can think of it as, here's the x change. Oops, I've gone too far, excuse me. Here's the change in x, and here's the change in y. So that is a triangle that has a slope of 7/8. The next slide, we'll take a look at another slope. So this second slide, you'll notice that the line is tilted to the left if you look at it, and it goes up to the left, whereas the previous slide it went up to the right. Well, the previous slide had a positive slope. Since we increased our x direction, as we increased our x direction, y increased as well. So this one has a negative slope. I like to think of it as if you put a ball or something on the left end of the line. Would you have to push it uphill as in the previous slide, or would it roll downhill? If it's going to roll downhill, then it's going in the negative direction. It's going down, so it's negative. So there's lots of different ways to think about it, but the slope will always calculate, no matter which point you start at and which point you finish at, will always give you the sign of the slope as well. Really good habit to get into is to know that anything that slopes downward as you go left to right is negative, and anything that slopes upward, tilts upward as you go from left to right, in other words, as you would read it, is a positive slope. That's just the way based on the way we've defined the number lines and the way we've defined slope. So let's take a look at this problem here. Point A is at -3, 3. So this is -3, 3. We go 3 in the -3 in the x direction and up 3 in the y direction. Point C is at 0, 1. 0 meaning that we haven't gone anything in the x direction. So if we look at this, we start here and we don't go either to the left or to the right. We start here and we've gone 0 in the x direction, and then we've gone up 1 in the y direction. And our last point, B, is actually at 3, -1. So 3, -1. Now, the reason I've created 3 points here is for us to see that it doesn't matter which pair of points you pick, you're still going to get the same slope because it's the same line and it has the same tilt to it. Slope meaning tilt. So let's do the change in y over change in x from A to B. So if we do that, if we look at this, our slope triangle going from A to B is going to be from here to here and then from here to here. Now if we're careful, we will count that this is going 1, 2, 3, 4 in the negative direction. So that's -4 going from A to B. So the change in y over the change in x, we've just decided that our change in y is -4, and our change in x is going the width of this triangle, which is going to be carrying us from here over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's going to be in the +6. So this is +6. So it's a change of -4 over +6, which is of course a slope of -2/3 when we simplify the fraction. So let's try this same idea going from point, let's say, C to A. So we'll start at point C. So this is calculating it. This is going, the original one we had was going from A to B. Let's go from C to A. If we go from C to A, when we start at point C, we should get that the change in y, so let's take a look at this, and let's make a nice little slope line. And so the change in y going from C is going to be up 2, and over 3. And let's get the signs right on these guys. Alright, so when we come back to the signs, we're going to find that the change in y then, the change in y over the change in x, if we follow the green triangle, we are going up 2, so that's plus 2 for y, and we're going, so this is plus 2 here, and if we're going from over to a, then we're going to go negative 3 direction. So that's going to be plus 2 over negative 3. Now, plus 2 over negative 3, a positive divided by a negative is a negative again, so of course our slope is negative 2/3. We could also do the same thing going from B to C, or from C to B, or from B to A. We will always get the correct sign if you're careful of making sure that when you're going from C to A, you start at C and go to A, and you keep track of the direction you're going when you're doing this. Hopefully this will help clean up finding slopes.